Hi, this is Katie Shell with Essential Journeying, and this is my new moon forecast and manifestation guidance for the Libra new moon coming up on October 6th. This is 2021. And so I just want to start by getting right into what a new moon is. New moon is where the sun and moon are in the same place. So whatever sign we're in, so right now we're in Libra season, so that means that the new moon will be in Libra. Next time when we're in, the next new moon will be in Scorpio season, so the next new moon will be in Scorpio. So the new moon is this, again, is the sun and the moon being in the same place in the sky. This time they are at 13 degrees Libra. So where the next year's Libra new moon will be in a different place. It'll be at a different degree. So we're going to feel these in different ways depending on how they interact with our personal chart and what we have at 13 degrees or anywhere in between maybe 9 and 16 degrees of Libra, of Aries, of Capricorn, of Cancer, and maybe the other air signs. So there's a lot of different ways that our personal chart can interact with what's happening in the sky, but really paying attention to the fact that this Libra new moon is going to be, again, about bringing that sun and moon together in Libra. The sun is always about how do we shine. It's about our energy. It's about our egos. And when I say ego, I don't mean it in a bad way. I mean it in who we are, what our personality is, what makes us stand out from other people. That's going to be that is what drives us. That is what gives us our energy. And we're going to bring that together with the moon and its ability to help us get in touch with our intuition, help us get in touch with our feelings. So we bring those two together in Libra, which is all about finding balance. It's about finding harmony. It's about justice. And so so when we're talking about what we want to manifest, what we want to create, what seeds we want to plant at this new moon, we want to think about what places in our life do we feel that we have disharmony in relationships? What places do we feel that are not fair or not just? And we want to start planting the seeds on how we want to create justice in our life, how we want to create fairness in our life, how we want to create beauty and attract compassionate relationships with other people in our lives. So trusting our intuition, because of course this is going to be part of the moon. So the moon helps us get in touch with that intuition. So really dropping into that feeling, into the body, into connecting the head. Because sun is it can be very head. It can be in our heads. It can be about our personality and what drives us. So we want to bring that energy of what we're thinking with what we're feeling and bring that together to create our next steps. The other thing that we have in this new moon is that we also have it with a really tight conjunction with Mars. And with it being really tight with Mars, Mars is all about passion. It's about our individuality. Sometimes it can make us a little bit more aggressive. It can make us a little bit more assertive. So this invites us really to, again, stand up for ourselves and create really clear boundaries, because Mars in Libra is about creating boundaries so that we can have these healthy relationships with other people. It's important for us to know who we are in order to have a good relationship with somebody else, because when we don't have those clear boundaries, we all get all muddled all together, and it's like, well, this is mine and this is yours, and you get hung up on what you think the other person wants or trying to do something for them. So really focusing on defending your own boundaries. And when I say defending them, I mean putting clear markers on what you want and what you need, on how your needs are met and how you want to stand up and stand out. What feels fair to you, what is important to you. The other thing that we've got several things coming into contact with this. The other have this quincunx or in conjunct with Uranus, making almost an exact 150 degree angle with this new moon. And so what that does is Uranus invites us to think about our authenticity. Sometimes we think of this as rebellious. Sometimes we think of this energy as sudden changes and the unexpected. How I like to and how I want to apply this to thinking about the new moon and how we're manifesting in this new moon is, again, thinking about maybe places that we feel like we aren't understood, thinking about places where we don't feel like people see us for who we are. And in those areas, think about why this is important to us. Why is it important for us? Why is it important for you to be seen a certain way? And what can you do to better define yourself so that so other people's opinions don't matter as much? And inviting yourself to manifest new ways to express yourself with your authenticity in a way that promotes balance and harmony in your life. And so again, this is about coming in and figuring out those boundaries, being really careful, being really clear with who we are, and practicing detachment. Practicing detachment doesn't mean that we don't care about other people or we don't show compassion for other people. Practicing detachment means that we don't get pulled into other people's drama. And so we have a lot of that with Libra energy, because Libra energy wants us to find balance and harmony. So we're being pulled into the drama. We're being shown the drama and then given these tools to then figure out how to rise above it and how to find balance in these things that are seemingly unable to connect with each other. So by tapping into that Uranus energy, by tapping into that Mars energy, we can really identify with ourselves and who we are and who we want to be. And so being able to then bring that into these relationships and stand above them, and to bring balance and harmony, bring fairness, bring justice in a way where, instead of being pulled into the fighting that often happens when we think things aren't fair, being able to stand up and be clear and saying, this is what is important right now. This is what is important for me right now, because this is about your individuality. This is about you standing up for yourself. So again, thinking about places in your life where you want to create. And when we create at the new moon, it's not just about the next 2 weeks. It's usually for the next 6 months. If you also want to look at the Mars takes about 2 years to return to the same spot, to go around the full zodiac. So some of these things that we're starting right now, when it comes to our assertiveness in our individuality, when it comes to being clear on who we are, being clear with our boundaries and relationships, these are things that we're going to maybe even be working on for the next 2 years. So think about it in those terms, not just in the next 2 weeks, and then also to the next Libra full moon, because it goes from the Libra new moon to the Libra full moon in in 6 months, because it's the next other half of the year. So when we're in Aries, when we're in spring, there will be a Libra full moon, and some of this stuff that we're doing right now, some of these seeds that we're planting will come into fruition, will come into culmination at that time. But again, also thinking about this Mars cycle, that it's a 2-year cycle for Mars, and we're really being invited to figure out ways to be assertive without being aggressive, to be passionate without and still being compassionate, to be part of the whole, being part of the collective, to be part of partnerships without losing our individuality. These are hard topics for all of us to deal with it all of the time. And so this new moon really invites you to take a look at those things and figure out what they mean. So that's October 6th. And then we move just a few days after that, we move into, and then, October 6th, also Pluto goes out of retrograde. So Pluto since April has been in retrograde. And so what Pluto does is it tears things down so you can transform them. It changes things. Pluto is all about breaking things down to turn them new, to become new. And so anything that you've kind of been working with over the last 6 months, anything that you've been revisiting, things have come up probably for most of us over the last 6 months that are prompting us to reevaluate what's important to us, to prompt us to, and it depends on what house it's going in through you, but it's in Capricorn. So Capricorn is always about breaking down structures. It's breaking down and rising up with a sense of maturity, and so and building new structures for ourselves. So that is coming out of retrograde on the 6th, and then moves into an exact, so square with Aries. Sorry, with Eris and Aries. I always want to switch those because they sound alike. The Eris and Aries on the 9th. And so Eris is the one who dethroned Pluto. Eris is the one that when she was discovered, Pluto became a dwarf planet. So she is the goddess of chaos. She is the goddess of change. She brings new information to us and allows us to then change things. Sometimes she's the goddess of discord. She is, again, change through chaos. She is a truth seeker. She is sometimes considered the female Mars. Truth above all for her, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how it comes up. It just comes up. And so these two, Pluto and Eris, are making an exact square on the 9th. So that's a couple days after this new moon. So keeping that energy in mind, that this is more discretion, more breaking things down, more truth, more revelations of truth, more revelations of what it is that we need to see, what it is we need to know, especially when it comes to, because is making a T-square with Mercury, also in Libra. So we have these 3 planets now acting together, helping us to confront, because whenever we have a square, it's about confronting, it's about challenges. We call them hard aspects because they're challenges to us. They're challenges to what we understand and what we want to talk about, because Mercury is now involved too. So what are we breaking down? What are we breaking through? What are we breaking through? What is important to you right now? What truths are coming up to the surface that haven't been there before? What new awarenesses are there for us? Again, particularly with how do we stand up? How do we stand out? How do we speak up for ourselves? And how do we do that with a sense of harmony? And so those are the big aspects that are part of that specific new moon. Then we move into first all of these. Start on the 6th. We actually again have Pluto coming out of retrograde, as I just said, and then on the 11th, Saturn comes out of retrograde, and then the last 2 will be on October 18th. Will be Jupiter and Mercury coming out of retrograde about the 18th, and so these station, and so right before they change directions, whether they're going retrograde or direct, they have this moment of a couple days where they're almost standing still, where it feels like they're standing still, and we get a much greater focus and much greater energy on whatever that is. So keeping in mind, you're going to have that greater Plutonian energy, which is all about transformation, all about breaking things down to build up on this new moon. So it's going to be like this standstill and this extra emphasis on how we can transform. So this is really important part of that October 6th new moon. What comes next then is Saturn coming up. Then we'll have a focus on Saturn a week later, Saturn in Aquarius, which is about innovations, new way to thinking, but doing it within structured and I always like, with Saturn, it's about how do we do things? How are we responsible? How do we get things done in a focused way? Excuse me. How do we get things done? And so Saturn coming out of retrograde in that Aquarius, which is again about authenticity, is going to be about how do we want to define our structures for ourselves in the coming months. And so we'll start getting new information about that once Saturn. So paying attention on that, on right around the 11th. Saturn has been in retrograde for several months, so paying attention to those structures that have broken down for you and how to build up new structures for yourself, and that help you be authentic, and how to create social structures that are important for you. Then we move into the October 18th, which is when Jupiter and Mercury come out of retrograde, and that'll be much closer to that full moon on the 20th. And so that'll be more about connected with what we are doing on that full moon. But keeping in mind that once we get all of these retrogrades kind of moving forward, it's going to be a great big push towards the next cycle. So yes, the retrograde is a nice time to slow down. Yes, the fall, this last part of the year is about slowing down and going within. And we can do that while moving forward. So thinking about, again, this is about Libra is all about paradoxes, right? So how do we move forward with speed while we're going within, while we're also kind of slowing down at the end of the season? So it's about cleaning up and preparing and getting ready. And how do we get ready? How do we make ourselves really ready for these new possibilities? Jupiter next year will be in Pisces and will be very much about expanding, pushing our boundaries and expanding us into expanding our imaginations, expanding what is possible. But for the next couple months, it's finishing up the year in Aquarius, which is again about innovations and thinking authentically, and who are we and what do we want to be. So when we're thinking about that right now, then next year we get to create that reality when Jupiter then moves into Pisces. And really feel that and kind of transcend up over what the kind of mundane structures that we're feeling right now. So moving on, and then of course Mercury goes direct at that point. Mercury is about fast, it's about quickness. So whenever Mercury is in retrograde, we're slowing down, we're rethinking about how we communicate, we're rethinking about who we're talking to, why we're talking to them, what we want to express. And so bringing that all together, once Mercury goes direct, hopefully you'll have learned some lessons over the last couple weeks about how we can better express ourselves. So what better way to start with your intention for this new moon than to set intentions around creating opportunities for harmony, opportunities for authenticity, and opportunities for standing up while having compassion and bringing things together, being ourselves while bringing others together, which is of course something that we all want to strive for, and that this is a really important time, and an important time to focus on that. So I hope this helps, and join me again next time. Have a great day.